Hello, all you audiences. Welcome once again to another episode of Reality Unscripted. And this is your host, Mr. Told You So. I hope everyone's actually looking forward to the holidays coming up just around the corner. Hopefully everyone has got some good plans with friends and family where everyone gathers the most important and best time of the year, or vice versa. And make sure you make it a good one and a safe one along with that as well. And of course, it's a very healthy one, as I am always going to stress on the health being the number one priority at all times. Now, I don't know if any of you have been doing what I advise, which, observing your surroundings for human behavior that may align or may not align with how you feel about society. But I personally always do that on a regular basis just to, see how society is actually heading toward. It's a good indication if most individuals are behaving a specific way a majority of the time. And sometimes you can tie that down to how they may be influenced with their surroundings or possibly the media, social media, and whatnot. There are a lot of influences nowadays that can influence most people's behavior. And I feel it's good to discuss these things because in the well-being of an individual, I do believe that it does play a good amount of role to how individuals will actually go toward their life. As I did mention in my previous episode of being yourself as an important key factor, because just basing your life on individuals' opinions, I find, is a really limiting way to live, and to my opinion, not really a organic way of living, meaning it's not really genuine. But I do know, as you probably all do already now, that most people have a hard time doing that. They'd rather go with the mass society, regardless of how irrational it is, just to be conforming, than to actually stand on their own beliefs. Because I may have given you that definition again of what people are, or what the reason what people would be doing this for. And it's normally around the lines of, in a nutshell, I gave you 3 definitions, I think, of why that's happening. I think I could be wrong, but it's somewhere along the lines of seeking acceptance, fear rejection, or feeling the need to feel accepted in a group, which is technically almost the first one, but somewhere around those lines. But you see, the thing is with that, if you're basing your lifestyle on the mass society's opinions, then you're not really living for yourself, you're living for society. Now, depending on what, beliefs or opinions people have, that may be right for them, and, of course, to each their own. But if you want to be really real to yourself, I wouldn't think that's the best way to go. I made plain examples of that on my previous episode. Go listen to it, and, whether you agree or not, it might help clear some things up that are not clear, or vice versa. Now, on this episode, having said that, it's going to dig a little more connected to that, and it's going to be why you should stop comparing yourself to others, right? And I know it's easier said than done. Even I myself, being guilty of it, sometimes I'll do it myself because, of course, and I'll always put simulation theory into this, in a 3-dimensional world, very hard to sometimes deviate from what needs to be done to what is programmed to be done. But there's there's still a good amount of things that we can do for ourselves to do that. Now, the reason why I would say it's bad to compare yourself with others, right, is because society has this bar that they have set that you have to be a specific way, right? And if you look at a lot of the influences, really a lot of it, when you really think about it, a lot of it is really all about making money, right? That's a big portion of it. So if it doesn't sell, it's not going to be out there, right? That doesn't mean it's right though, right? You got to think about it. Is just because it sells, does it actually help this world a better place? And that's what this podcast is mostly about. How do we actually improve if there are limitations set by the simulation? As I mentioned, there might be certain things that we could do to improve that so we can actually be on par to what society should be performing, right? And this actually helps everybody, whether it's the well-being or the way to live their life. I do believe that it goes a long way to the way people behave and think, because after all, that's really what makes the world go round. As truthful as my messages could be, if the majority doesn't really agree to that, then at the end of the day, it's really the majority that goes, right? But the way I see it is, even if you're not the majority, if you're doing it right and for yourself, in the end of the day, you're still the big winner, right? Because you are doing what the system needs to be done. And these individuals who are the mass society, they're just living in this bubble world that doesn't really exist, and they're just really just going along with the ride, as they would say. And the ride may not even be the right one, but nevertheless they are, because of course, once again, you know, they need to be accepted, fear of rejection, or looking for a belonging. You know, that's technically where they're going out with that. Now, having said that, what do we see nowadays that's being advertised mostly, right? You got to look this way, you got to look that way, you got to act this way, you got to act that way. And what that does actually is it may connect with certain people, and it may, actually, I'll rephrase it. It connects with most people, and it may not connect with a few. But even the ones that do connect with, let's say there's the majority of the people, I have this strong feeling, right? And it may or may not be, there's no scientific evidence to this, of course, but just based on things that we observe, that I just feel that people, most individuals in that majority of the category, just had through time, even though they probably battled it in the earlier years of their lives of, you know, is this really the right way or not? They realize that there's no other way, or maybe they had come with the acceptance of that, and it's just better to be that way anyways, because the other way, which is probably more truthfully who they are, is going to leave them unaccepted, right? Unaccepted, fear of rejection, and not feeling not belong to anything. This is the misconception that most people are going with, and I do believe that, like, this is an experiment. Humanity is technically failing in that aspect, because along with that comes with all the things that make the world go round that really don't have any benefit in the purpose of, if you can say, humans and the whole universe, right? So I'll give another example. So, you know, when you ever see a group of individuals that hang out in, like I said, these public areas where everyone's having a good time. We'll see, they're going to be bars, lounges in the city, right, mostly. And I'm, you know, like, I really do. I love these sceneries as well, but I don't care about these big hypes that people just bite on. I could even do without that. And I have many ways of enjoying myself, even in those settings, without having the need to fit into that. Like, once again, not everyone can do that. I may be very special in that sense, and I can probably, you know, there's probably a lot of truth to that, but I do believe that everyone can be this way if they just choose to do so. Once again, choice is the individual themselves. No one can debate that, but you got a question, right?